Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream of Shadowverse. Today is May the 7th, Friday. So here we can see the darkness over Velsar screen actually loaded, right? And I'm hoping we'll stop seeing the kind of glitchy Shadowverse loading screens where it just goes back to the default load. It's not a big deal. This guy definitely seems to be just directly stolen from uh, the Alucard Castlevania art style. Although, in all fairness, how many different ways can you draw Dracula? You pretty much are going to want to have a pale guy with with a sword and with some red and some black. Gold also makes sense if Dracula's supposed to be the vampire king. Um, so there really isn't that far. It seems to me like there's also a character here that is controlling like a wolf demon, and maybe that's not a vampire. And then you have kind of like a Japanese spiritualist, a Buddhist guy putting key energy into a sword, and then you have more of a devil slash vampire uh, character up here. But yeah, no crossover in the load screen. Um, Today is going to be a day of high ambition, which arguably is the exact opposite of the game Hyperlight Drifter, which I finished playing. And I finished playing it in a very kind of pathetic way. Like, I made it to the boss, defeated the boss, the final boss. There was plenty of things still to potentially run around and try and collect and find, but just no motivation and no reason to do it. I beat the game missing 2 out of 6 guns, missing 3 or 4 out of the major upgrades, missing probably 7 of major sections. So there's just like entire dungeons I missed, entire things I missed, and I just couldn't care because like it was definitely worse than even the original Legend of Zelda game that it compared itself to Zelda: A Link to the Past, which is a newer Zelda game. There's just no compass in the game at all to find anything, so you would just have had to wander around. I couldn't get the dashing ability to ever really work for me. It seems like every day you get a private match option, and if you miss it, you miss it. So I probably have missed some. Um, and there's really no story at all in Hyperlight Drifter. There's just nothing particularly fun. I guess we are going with Runecraft again today, unfortunately. And so yeah, I was not happy with it. After that, after finishing that series, I started playing a little bit of Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, an old Scum VM game, which the graphics don't particularly hold up on it. Obviously, in the audio, kind of doesn't hold up as well as I remember either, because there's just no RAM that it's programmed to use, so it'll load 2 sentences of dialogue and then it will kind of pause and have to load in the next couple of sentences of dialogue. It did occur to me that it would make a lot of sense now that Disney owns Lucasfilms for them to potentially cheat the system and come up with a bunch of new Indiana Jones point-and-click adventure games, or that you would make in Unreal, not Scum VM engine. But I guess that would just be called the Scum engine. Particularly, that means you could keep Harrison Ford employed and busy by having him voice act in a bunch of point and click adventure games, and you wouldn't have to digitally de-age the character. You could just have a 3D character. You could go back and mine the depths of young Indiana Jones TV series for ideas. You could also almost certainly steal some ideas from the Librarian movie and TV series. All of that would work fairly nicely. And yeah, it's just kind of another example of Disney not doing anything so far with what they've acquired. And yeah, there should have been consistently Indiana Jones games, because Indiana Jones are action movies. There's really no reason for Uncharted to have been able to come out and steal everything that an Indiana Jones video game is without any competition at all. So the reason why today is ambitious is because, let's try this trial. Is that what we'll do? Yeah, I guess we'll try that. I've been awake for a while. My insomnia has been having me fall asleep around 10 in the morning. And so my goal today is to get through a lot of stuff, including today we're going to experiment with doing some follow list cleanup, but we're only going to do that once I can see the beginning of the end, which means there's still going to be a ton of games that we're going to close that are brand new. We're going to do the new stuff mostly all today, and leave just 20 or so for Monday. The Beastcast happened. I suppose we should mention that. And they brought back Dan Reichert, Abby Russell, and I can't remember the name of the third guy. So they brought back pretty much all their interns that had been on the Beastcast that ever came back. Now, there's still 2 or 3 people that haven't come back. Didn't come back, and frankly, they just wouldn't have had enough room to have 2 more people show up. So that was fine. All they really did on the Beastcast is kind of just talk about how they were all leaving and talking about their experiences. Mostly they were bitching about, for lack of a better term, the offices that they're working out of, the C-Man offices in New York. Which, yeah, I get that. Like, those offices never did look particularly good. So, there really isn't any new speculation as far as why 3 people decided to leave the bomb cast, or Giant Bomb at the same time. In a separate video, the Jeff Gersman, who's staying and has a second kid on the way, did say that he was slightly angry as one of his emotions that he was feeling around this whole thing, which does seem like a kind of unique response to say when people who are your co-workers and maybe even were your friends decide to stop working with you. But I guess it kind of makes sense. Like, if I was working at a random job and 3 of my coworkers all of a sudden quit, even if I absolutely hated those coworkers, I still probably would feel some level of anger, just as far as the change, and the idea of having to now adjust. And that is something certainly to consider, is that Jeff Grossman, in one way or another, is going to now have to adjust how Giant Bomb runs. And so the only just wild speculation thought I had was that Vinny Caravella always kind of had this I'm gonna rib you attitude, this kind of jokey attitude, this kayfabe. I'm gonna say something stupid and then take the joke further. I'm gonna lie to you. Which, if that's what we saw on screen, I suppose if you were gonna make baseless,
Someone as beautiful as her could never understand.
if you were gonna make random baseless questions, then there is a possibility that maybe Vinny realized that he was kind of a bully. I mean, bullying happens in office and work environments a lot, and it is not really addressed. I don't know if I ever really saw him being a bully. Part of the problem is any on-air talent might be doing a bit, might be doing comedy, and might be acting the character of a bully, and thus it might be very excusable what actions they're doing. So you'd have to kind of either have questions behind the scene and see how they actually work together behind the scene. Plus, one of the things about even being on camera one thing that doesn't get shown is that it's totally possible that he could be winking and at somebody as he's saying something horrible when he's not on screen. And that is another factor as far as like podcasts, is that you can often say something that sounds pretty horrible, and then everybody in the room may get the understanding that it's just a joke. I have no idea what this deck is trying to do. It's just banishing cards over and over again.
Burn to ash.
But yeah, that is as much baseless speculation as anything else. They did address the idea that they were under contract and denied that, so I mean that creates the catch-22. That's exactly what somebody under contract would say. But also 6 months after an acquisition may just be the right time to consider where you're going. So yeah, there's not a lot to say there, and there's basically nothing to say there. So let's start going through the video game news, since while I did get several things recorded with Hyperlight Drifter, there was nothing to say. It was pretty sad coverage, and I just had to admit it. It's like I can't criticize a game that has nothing in it. When you walk in a room and you're attacked by 5 enemies, and then you walk into a room that's slightly different and you're attacked by 5 slightly different enemies, there's not much of an experience there. So here we have a game on Steam called Hog Hunter 21. I don't think I'd be hunting hogs in the dark with what looks like a old school rifle. Free, English only. Yeah. Let's see.
Scatter you to the four winds.
Let's see what we can do now.
Sorry, but this ends here.
Yeah, I have no idea what this deck was trying to do, because all it seems to have done is had me run out of cards.
Wait.
So why was I trying to run out of cards? Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here. Yakuza series is going to remain a turn-based RPG. There is a new Judgment game called Last Judgment that was leaked then announced. So let's try that again. I want to test that. Here we have a game on Steam called Carebots. Oh, I should point this out. So I have implemented an experiment, and it should be running right now, where I talked about the idea of having a sequence of the exact same scenes, where it would slightly move from one to another to another. So basically I have it scrolling a pixel or two, I'm not sure exactly how much, to the left, and then it starts back at the center and goes up, then it starts back at the center and goes to the right, and then it starts back at the center and goes down. That's just the way it's set up. I could probably rethink it a little bit and actually try to have it go in a actual circle. There is a randomization on OBS, but it is not the kind of randomization that can be triggered between a group. It's a randomization that happens when no other triggers are met, and it just randomly switches you to a scene. So now whenever I do the web peek over here, it should be imperceptible, but you might see it. And so I'm looking for feedback here, and we're going to try and push it today as far as trailers. Ideally we would have a Nintendo video trailer, and we're going to just let it play the full time and see if YouTube's automatic content ID system, which is being abused by Nintendo to claim copyright on advertisements that can't be copyrighted, we'll see if content ID catches it or not, because it is not a common occurrence that one of these live streams gets content ID'd, but they are like 4-hour videos, and it does happen every now and then, and it's always a Capcom or a Nintendo ad trailer. And there's no reason to help people break the law or usurp the law for their own usage. So yeah, we'll try that. Now on the other hand, it may turn out when I look at the video that it looks just absolutely awful and it's motion sickness inducing. I suppose I could have it zooming in and zooming out, but I wanted to mostly try to make it imperceivable to a human and only affecting frame by frame analyzing. And I suppose the real frame by frame analyzation, if it's moving like 1 pixel a second, which I think is about the minimum I can have it do, then 60 frames still are exactly the same. But yeah, that certainly could be could be not worth it. Here we have a game on Steam called Carebots, which just looks like a top-down shoot 'em up type game with robots. $8.99. They're comparing it to Hyper Light Drifter and Axiom Verge. Like, neither one of these indie games I liked. And these both were in kind of that same time. One of the problems that I think very few people will have and is that in the credits of this game, and I think this is a problem with any Kickstarter game, is you've got names like Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn. So, like, Zoe Quinn is the person sleeping with video game journalists to create Gamergate, if I recall correctly. So the reason I even ever thought about playing Hyper Light Drifter is because Giant Bomb talked about it, and the reason Giant Bomb talked about it is because clearly it had the right friends and nepotism, and so yeah, now you have controversial figures in your credits forever because they kickstarted your game. They kickstarted the game Hyper Light Drifter and then made a pretty bad game for what was kickstarted. So I guess these are the main strategies you're looking for.
Mana, come forth. You've no idea how burn to ash.
You're a fiery one.
So
Someone as beautiful as her could never understand.
I think the goal here is to play these guys and get double attacks. But
Let me divine tomorrow's water pressure. The resplendent phoenix
I don't know if that really is gonna work.
Let the land be graced by beauty.
There almost certainly during 2015 and 2016 are
Stay away from me.
other indie games that did not get that kind of coverage and deserve the coverage as much, if anybody deserved the coverage.
Renounce yourself.
Did I predict wrong?
Okay.
Burn to ash.
Well, I now see how this works. Like, in one turn, I very well may win here. Yeah. I would have much preferred, instead of playing Hyper Light Drifter, to have just played the original Zelda game. And I'm almost certain that there is something out there that tries to be like Zelda. Even, what was it? Let's see, let's do this.
Relinquish your vessel to find death.
Hit
Renounce
this.
yourself.
And then this. Oops, I should have played that first.
This match is mine. You've no idea how burn to ash.
You're a solid fighter.
Well, we got a win there, so we shouldn't complain too much. Yep. I would like to see just a kind of standard clone of a Zelda game. Just the original Adventure of Zelda. A top-down area. There are several collectible items. You're going to collect them. You're going to fight enemies. You're going to go through dungeons. In a funny way, that kind of is what Binding of Isaac would be if Binding of Isaac wasn't randomized and you knew where all the items are. That wouldn't be a bad idea, frankly, if they did make a Binding of Isaac spin-off game. that was just a Zelda experience. And that could be a very big Zelda Adventure of Zelda NES experience too, because there's just so many items in general. But yeah, I need to cover the news very, very quickly today, so no distractions. Gamasutra has an article. The Finnish studio Metacore has secured $180 million from Supercell. Zynga is going to acquire the mobile monetization and ad platform Chartboost for $250 million. We may have already talked about some of this news. Here's Lost Judgment as being announced as coming out. There is. It kind of feels a little premature to be making another another game, but another Judgment game. But I guess that's fine. Whatever. If it succeeds, it succeeds. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Here we have a game on Steam called Uniboom War of Unicorns, which looks like a tower defense game for $279, English only. Nothing there of interest. Here we have a game called The Invisible Hand, which is probably a meme stockbroker simulator. Yeah, I don't see anything here that really looks like it would be an interesting game. $10.39 English full audio. And apparently it's part of the To the Moon launch weekend. So it is just Wall Street Bets stock memeing. Which, at what point do we stop caring about like GameStop's ticket prices? Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Wonder if I could do that. I'll have to think about how you'd even implement that, but almost certainly I could create a stock ticker that would cycle like MSNBC does through specific stocks. So we could get Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, if Nintendo of America is traded on it, we could certainly, I guess, maybe even get the Yandex information anyway, so that probably wouldn't also be too hard to pull off. So yeah, I could have that cycle. Is that information important? Not really. Is there anything more I could put on the screen? Like, if we were just trying to turn my live streams into the equivalent of CNN, I mean, I could put a clock on the screen at all times, certainly. That would be easy enough to pull off. Although I would have to think about how to actually do that. I could potentially maybe get news articles and put them in some kind of list in which just headlines appeared at the bottom, recapping things that have already been talked about. That would be expensive as far as my time and the effort around that, but it is doable. It does kind of make an argument around simply just having yet another person. Yeah, if I had some kind of intern taking every headline from every article I read and putting it in a file, and that file was showing up as a crawl at the bottom. Cool, that'd be cool and all, but at a certain point that just gets distracting also, and it's just not necessary when you're live streaming as much as it is when you're broadcasting on CNN, and people like CNN's and news as it's described is designed very specifically to let you change to that channel and immediately get as much information and news as possible to catch your attention. So they just flood the screen with visuals all the time, where on YouTube that's not so much an issue. Moving on, we have a game called The Far Kingdoms, Forgotten Realms. I would also have to think very hard about whether you would really want to talk about these games that are just games that came out as being on that ticker or not. See, this is English, French, and German. It's just a solitaire game. It's selling for $5.39 from HH Games. Let's do this. And do this.
Someone as beautiful as her could never understand.
And
Mana,
this.
you've no idea how pitiful and wretched I feel. I'll scatter you
Do
to the
this.
four winds.
We'll strike twice.
Now do that.
The world cycles on.
How's that?
See, next we have a game on Steam called Ill, which just looks like it's an asset flip nothing game. That'd be a platforming maze runner. $2.99 English and Arabic. Next we have Techno Tanks, which looks just like a Neon Tanks clone for $3.99 English only. See. Spell boosted once. See how this works.
I loved her. She was everything to me.
So. Eight damage instead. Do that. Do that. Don't want to evolve. No, I don't think so. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Toilet Paper War, which just looks like it is an RPG Maker game. We're starting to see less and less of these. $2.99 English and German. Nothing there to really consider. Here we have a game called Virtual Rehab Art for Health, which is all squished together as one word. And it looks just like an asset flip VR game for $2.99, which is way too cheap. English and Swedish. I heard someone talk about how and praise the innovation that they've seen in VR, and I really wish I can see what they're talking about, but I can't. Like, not one bit. I see very little innovation, or at least very little successful innovation.
How did I lose?
So this rune deck is very much about getting lucky from this seeming way it seems to play. So we'll keep on trying this just for fun, even though we really don't have time for that. For fun. Here we have a game on Steam called Universe Prison, which looks to be just a RPG, but the animation style on it seems to be like from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Unfortunately, none of the game itself shows you a good image of the characters until you get to this video. So, yeah, let's see if we can show off some wild
Don't underestimate me.
looking characters
Time
here.
for me to prove myself.
This is $9.99 English and Japanese. While I like the art style of the wild looking characters, you can see the actual game is just this horribly animated top-down RPG. And so I can only assume either there was one artist as far as character designer, and then they just there was just not anybody that was particularly that good at making a game, and so they just shoved it into an RPG maker. Here we have a game called Soraleo, cooperative mystery solving game, which looks poorly animated. $5.39 English and Japanese. We may be seeing a list here of some pretty bad Japanese games after Golden Week, which I overslept and missed the Golden Week sale, so I guess that saved me $40, or as much as a sale saves you money by costing you less. It's the opposite scenario when you forget to buy anything, because I was going to spend $40 on games and now I'm not. It doesn't really affect me. Like, the summer sale's still going to happen, the fall sale happens, the winter sale happens. There's plenty of non-stop video game sales on Steam that happen throughout the year. Plus, it's hardly like I'm running out of games to play. If anything, I'm still doing terrible as far as making content and scheduling content. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Patch Quest, which seems to be a kind of kid-friendly top-down twin-stick shooter game. It seems like it might also take you to some dungeons and go into some different directions. In a funny way, I guess Zelda is kind of a top-down twin-stick shooter, but you never really felt it was like that. You never got to a bullet hell element, certainly in the original Zelda game. I'm going to put this on the follow list. English only, $19.99. People might actually like that game. It might actually work. Let's see. Kimetsu has the Caligula Effect 2 second trailer, which the thing here is we could watch this. It's 9 minutes of footage, which would be a lot of time, but this is not, I think, a good one to watch to test out Content ID, because I don't think this publisher or developer does that. We need to find either a Nintendo or Capcom game. We can definitely see how the Caligula Effect as a game has changed its art style quite a bit here. Instead of the all white and red art style, they're all now in black. So I wonder if maybe they transferred over to a different school. Maybe they're in high school or college now, and they were in junior high in the first Caligula Effect. I still don't think that the actual name probably explains what is actually going on in that game. Or at least would be very weird if it was correct. And
I loved her. She was everything to me.
hit that,
I'm gonna rest for a bit.
hit that.
Mana, come forth.
If I could have done 2 damage to that character, it might have been better to do 2 damage to that character. Here we have Tasty Happy Jigsaw Happy Hour, which sounds like a Chinese jigsaw puzzle game. $2.99, English, French, German, and Russian. So I guess take your pick as to who created that. Probably not Chinese at that point. Next we have a game called Wizard's Duty, which seems to be a game where you run around the tower collecting elements to make potions while crazy things are happening. Now, it does not look like it's going to be particularly that good. They're describing it as a 3D idler. $1.29 English and Russian. Yep. 20 or less.
Someone as beautiful as her could never understand. This match is mine. You've no idea how pitiful and
Okay.
wretched I feel.
Do this.
Airborne wins.
And then that. Next we have a game on Steam called Angel Maid, which looks like just another RPG game. $22.49. Next we have a game on Steam called Pico Park, which
Do my best.
seems to be
It won't be long now.
maybe kind of like a Lemmings type game. Seems like some kind of co-op game. $4.49 online co-op. Apparently requires a lot of people to work together though. Let's see, how many is that? 5, 8 people on the screen. That seems like a very high number.
Impressed? Nothing yet.
Okay. See, we can banish or do that. See, next we have a game called Bullet Squared, which looks like it's just shooting up, down, and left and right. This game is free, English only. I guess the price is right, but that's unimpressive. Next we have a game called Degenerate Souls, which looks like it's just an asset flip open world fantasy game that can't even get the frame rate up. $19.99. That doesn't deserve any more consideration. Banish cards. Do we want to banish cards? Just banish that. Play this.
Beautiful as her could never understand. You don't stand a chance. You've no idea how pitiful it burned to ash. They're picking on me.
If I can get this down to 5, I could probably
All the fluffy hugs.
do 8 damage.
Oh, come on!
So if I can survive just a turn here, I could probably win. See, next we have a game on Steam called the Sunken Hero, which looks like it's an underwater top-down twin stick shooter game, which it being underwater does not really change anything other than the visuals. $2.39 English and Russian. Alright. This.
Nothing yet.
That. No more evolves. There's no reason to randomly destroy a follower. See, next we have a game on Steam called Rescue Rover Collection, and I wonder if this is an old game. If it is, it's not one I recognize, but it is from Ziggurat, which I think that is a publisher is known for publishing old games. $6.69 is probably still too expensive, though. And Ziggurat puts out a lot of old games that are bad, so it's not like they really are trying for quality. Here we have Scuba Venture, The Search of Pirate Treasure. I feel like I remember playing this game in like a classroom in like first grade or kindergarten or something. Either that or I had like a demo of it and played it for once or twice. But I don't think there's anything particularly special about this game. $4.69, English only. Yep. That is kind of the problem, is that most of these games are just not going to have any relevancy. Alright, well, what we can do is this. And this. And then this. Then this would do 8 damage. And this would do 9 damage. See. Let's see if this works. See, next we have a game on Steam called Slower Decks, The Unknown Enemy. This is another old game. These graphics definitely remind me how modern games at least do look better than they did in the 80s and 90s. This is $4.68. Like, we have made progress, but the bar definitely has just been raised quite a bit too. Yeah, I'm about to lose. See, by the time you get to this late game scenario, okay. This plus this plus this plus this won't all work. So theoretically I should hit this and hope it kills that. Fail miserably on that. Then let's just play this. Play this. And play this.
What's that for?
Abandon the yoke and drink the soup of wisdom.
So yeah, that had I managed to get this character down lower, there would have been success there. Next we have a game on Steam called Pape Tura, but I guess that is a big if, certainly, to say if I had won, I would have won. This looks like a interesting papercraft kind of hand animated game, although I can't really tell what it is. It's tagged as a point and click. It's $10.79. It's got several languages here. We definitely need to put a game like that on the follow list because there's no quick judgment for something like that. Let's spice it up and try the tournament deck, even though that's not been particularly successful. Here we have Starlight Shores, which is a dating sim visual novel. It's a little off on this animation style, but not terrible. See, like this girl looks like she's either faking a smile or actually evil.
Fire.
Definitely feels like it's just a Western person trying to make a visual novel. But let's see, $2.99 is particularly cheap. English only. Let's see how long it might be. Is it going to actually tell you? Let's see. Alcohol use, kissing, cuddling, discussion of sexual relationship. Yeah, I don't feel like this is going to be a particularly long visual novel. But whatever. We'll put it on the follow list. Actually, I'm going to... Part of the idea here certainly is going to be around the idea of beating myself down with putting games on the follow list when they really don't deserve to be on the follow list by potentially doing some follow list cleanup every Friday or the first Friday of every month. That's a way to like have that grounding spot, that touchstone as it were, to just remind me, hey, this is the stuff that we're actually following. This is the stuff that actually looks good, so you don't need to lower your standards. And it's kind of okay if the follow list was completely empty and there just weren't any games of questionable quality to even consider, because we're putting still the good games, the obviously good games, in the wish list. And we could easily go 3 years straight with not a single good game ending up on the wish list because there just weren't any good games that came out, and we'd still be perfectly fine. Like, we don't have to be the Oscars. We don't have to be any kind of annualized like review system where there must be a top 10 at the end of 2021. For me personally, it's perfectly fine if I said that no good games came out in 2020 or no good games came out in 2021 at all. Which honestly, 2021 may very well line up for that to actually be true. Next, we have a game on Steam called Immunity Adventures, which just looks like a platforming game. $4.99, English only. Let's see. We've got some more articles talking about how Wallfire Games / the person who originally created Humble Bundle is trying to file this antitrust lawsuit against Valve. I initially completely dismissed it as just being silly and stupid, but maybe we'll find out some more bit of information. At least they need to state a claim. That's the first thing, is just make a claim so that the courts know how to react. Otherwise, it will literally get tossed out of court for failing to state a claim. Let's see. He claims that he had no choice, which you always have a choice. You may have had no good choice.
Coming at you.
Overgrowth developer filed. No. Wasn't he the person that made a Humble Bundle? Did he make Overgrowth and Humble Bundle? Maybe. Taking an issue with the extraordinary high cut of revenue it takes from Steam developers, the lawsuit also calls out Valve for allegedly using Steam to create an unassailable monopoly on the PC game distribution. Valve hasn't done anything to make a monopoly other than offer a good product, which is not illegal. Nothing stops you from buying a game somewhere else. You can't, well, you almost never in the United States would get punished for being successful. And I hate to spout something that sounds pro big business out, but that's just kind of the truth of it. Like, if there's a single storefront that is creating a monopoly, that storefront is clearly Activision Blizzard's storefront, which has a limit there and only there, or the Epic Games Store, which has timed exclusives. There is no other storefront that is withholding any amount of games worth mentioning. But yeah, Valve. Huh.
Now the fight begins.
Let's see.
In this world started off whole or grand. How did I lose?
Well, here's his claim. He says he contacted Valve, and they said that if he lowered his price, if he put his price any lower anywhere else, they would remove Overgrowth from Steam, even from his own website, without Steam keys and without Steam DRM. This makes it impossible for him or any game developer to determine whether or not Steam is earning their commission. I would have to assume that at this point, if any of this claim is true of what's being said here, Overgrowth was in some kind of exclusivity deal with Valve. Otherwise, yeah, that would be potentially monopolistic. But also, to play as devil's advocate, still may not be illegal. Like, if like Walmart, I'm sure does worse every day of the week, really. Like, I could see any company just saying we won't do business with you if you're going to undercut us and sell somewhere else. Clearly, there's an attempt here to confuse what is done by Apple versus what Valve may do. What would be interesting to see, I suppose, is there an example of a game that is cheaper on a different storefront than Valve's, that's listed on Steam? There has to be. Almost, yeah, with 100%. Let's see. He goes on to allege that Valve made similar threats to other developers who charge lower prices on competing storefronts, telling them the titles would be pulled from Steam if they didn't raise their prices. Let's see. Here's a quote. As the dominant platform, when developers list their games on multiple PC stores, the majority of their sales will come through Steam. I believe this makes most developers afraid that if they don't sell on Steam, they will lose the majority of their revenue. They added, to those developers, avoiding Steam would add unacceptable risk to already high-risk game development. In general, I believe that most developers have little or no choice but to sell on Steam and do as they're told by Valve. So yeah, at least they're making an accusation In legal filings, I'd rather see the real legal filings though to see how that would play out. But yeah, I could see Valve maybe getting a slap on the wrist if some employee inside of Valve said we may pull your game, even if they said we may, or if they said even directly we will pull your game if you sell it cheaper somewhere else. I imagine, again, Walmart probably says the exact same thing. Walmart often demands that their prices match other storefronts, if not beats other storefronts. And it may very well be a case of the whole story not being told. They may say, if you're selling Steam keys at a lower price somewhere on a third-party site, we'll pull your game, which they have been trying to certainly fight the Steam key trading and selling shenanigans that sometimes happen. TechRaptor has a similar article here. I barely remember this game, Overgrowth. Though I recognize it now, seeing this screenshot. So the question, I suppose, is if I were to search Wolfire games, let's see. So here's their website. Here's their listing on Steam. Here we have Receiver here, which is very positive. Here we have Overgrowth, which is very positive. These games are on the wish list. None of these have disappeared. So, yeah. So far, I think all that we're going to see happen here is this developer may at some point stop being listed on Steam because they've decided to sue Steam. They very well may be shooting themselves in the foot, and it would be just a matter, I suppose, of timing as to whether that's going to be this was the good time for them to shoot themselves in the foot, or the bad time to shoot themselves in the foot. TechRaptor has this other article that makes kind of no sense. A Chinese Overwatch team has rescinded a boycott of a Korean player. A few days ago, players from a Chinese Overwatch League team said they would boycott any events that included Korean player Zhang Riol, Sabiolbi Park. However, a group of newly released statements revealed that all 5 team members, including Sabiol's team Seal Destiny and 4 Chinese teams, will resume normal activities. So interesting. Because the Overwatch League probably told them to rescind this boycott or they would be stopped. Which this is odd because almost always the scenario is the exact opposite, that people are kowtowing to Chinese boycotts, whether justified or not. Let's see. this. Do this.
Did I overreach myself?
Do this. In the turn. So the quote here is, the Overwatch League is a global community, one made strong by diverse backgrounds and perspectives of our players and fans. We have discussed the matter with all teams involved and the learnings that come from it. In spite of the sportsmanship, in the spirit of sportsmanship and continuing to deliver amazing competition for our fans around the world, the teams have agreed to resume normal activities with each other. Interesting. Park has not commented on the matter. So basically what happened here, and I guess it makes a whole bunch of sense, is that as Activision Blizzard is falling apart and needing every single bit of good news they can possibly get, they don't want to be dragged into another Hearthstone controversy experience where people are very upset about it, and they saw that reaction, and so they put the Overwatch League, which I think is run in part by Activision Blizzard, or at least heavily controlled by Activision Blizzard, because they could almost certainly stop it from happening. They probably put out the message that they did not want that kind of heat and that kind of controversy.
Someone as beautiful as her could never understand.
Right.
Mana, come forth. You've no idea how pitiful and burned to ash.
This. Play this.
But this ends here.
In return. So, what's kind of funny about that, I would say, more than anything, is just how that whole event, the announcement of the boycott and then the ending of the boycott, completely flew past my radar. Because Wednesday happened, I didn't see any news as far as a boycott. So unless this boycott was announced several weeks ago and I talked about it and forgot about the fact that I talked about it, it must have literally happened in less than a day or two. What we don't really know is why they were boycotting that person in the first place. What was said, what caused the conflict, if it was anything, or if it was just random xenophobia or Asian on Asian disagreements. Yeah, they do that whole hashtag Stop Asian Hate in the United States, but I mean, if you really want to stop Asian hate, push that thought down to Asia. Like, you will never find, from what I have observed, someone who hates other Asians more than Asians. Like, Indians hate Chinese, hate Pakistanis, hate North Koreans, North Koreans and South Koreans don't hate each other, but South Koreans, North Koreans hate Japanese, Chinese hate Japanese. Australia kind of, I think, hates them all, although I wouldn't put Australia in Asia. But
I loved her. She was everything to me.
let's see. What can we do?
Such a good guinea pig.
Let's do this.
But this ends here.
So yeah, there's
This match is mine.
there's a lot of
You let go of my hand.
conflict
so
there.
you'll pay.
Moving on. Gametsu has Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier closed beta set for June 1st to the 7th. Well, this would be Square Enix. So I'm gonna do this though. I kind of need to zoom out a little bit. So no, this is way too long. This is like an hour, 49-minute stream. The odds of this specifically getting content ID'd is unlikely, and if it was content ID'd, it'd almost at that point be copyrightable, because while it is advertisement, it is also its own commentary and other elements there. Let's do this.
Relinquish your vessel to find death.
Someone as beautiful as her could never understand. You don't stand a chance. You've no idea how pitiful and
Okay.
wretched I feel.
Can we do this?
Unforgivable. Burn to ash.
Renounce yourself.
I was so lonely.
Renounce yourself.
Well, if I can survive this next turn, I guess I can win. As far as lawsuits, we also have a possible class action lawsuit according to TechRaptor. They want to sue Sony for restricting digital sales to the PlayStation Store, which
Stay away from me.
which I think this probably would
World artifacts.
fail on the face of it. Let's see. They state that the gaming giant stopped letting third-party retailers sell digital PlayStation game codes 2 years ago. So this is a complaint that they want to basically be able to sell Steam keys on other storefronts, and Sony said no to that. And yeah, I could see that. Let's do this.
Scatter you to the four winds.
And then do this.
Scatter you to the four winds.
And then do this. And then do this. And I've lost. Unless he does 1 damage to himself. This deck clearly needs an ability, one of those cards that would change into a win condition if you ran out of cards. Because all he needs to do is end the turn
The sharpest shot.
and he'll win. Okay, well, yeah, once again, I don't think you're going to win in a class action suit like that. It's Sony Store's front. If they want to make you buy it directly from their storefront and nowhere else, that's fine. We see that in so many other places. The only point I imagine that could even be slightly a problem is if they were actively telling people they could only sell their games on their storefront at all without forcing people into exclusivity, which
I'll get production up up and running.
they don't generally seem to force people into exclusivity.
How did I lose?
There definitely is something fun about this deck, even if I'm not particularly winning every time with it. It makes a lot of movement, to say the least. TechRaptor has an article here. Conan Exiles, Isle of Siptah release date has finally been revealed. I didn't realize that Conan Exiles was still getting new content. I thought it was a finished game. TechRaptor has an article. Restworld revamp update overhauls the map, which I don't know how many people are really playing Rust. I did adjust my network settings, and I have had 0 dropped frames so far, so I think I did set that up. However, I'm still having problems with my cell phone, losing connection every now and then, which is still crazy. But I still think it's probably my cell phone's fault more than anything else. I also changed the default chat notice to now mention that the stream is delayed by 30 seconds. That way, anybody that says hi on the chat does have a decent chance on the pinned comments to realize at minimum it's going to take me 30 seconds to respond to somebody, so I'm not just ignoring you. Although, in all honesty, I probably am ignoring the chat for several minutes upon each time. See, we already talked about this, but EA beefs up EA Sports acquisition with Super Mega Baseball developer Metalhead Software being acquired. That's a Gamma Sutra article. Banish that. See, Gamma Sutra has an article. USC Games launches a fund to support Black and Indigenous game design students. That sounds nice. We are almost certainly going to have to do, as a society, as a world, we're going to have to do a deep investigation on what the state of the entire world is after this whole pandemic. Like, just to kind of reestablish, are the same problems still going to be the same problems? Is there going to be like massive amounts of people who had passed away? Is that going to change the economics of the world? Is there going to be more disease, less disease? Are the same people going to be fighting over the same patches of dirt, or is it going to be a whole new deal fighting over a whole new patches of dirt? So much could change, and so much may exactly stay the same. Let's see. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here. Death Crown for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch launches May 13th. Looks like it is some kind of black and white strategy game. There might be something to it, but maybe not. Let's see. It apparently includes an adapted control system and 2 DLCs, because it originally was on Steam. And we can see here it is labeled as very positive, and it is on my wish list. See, when you see the game in motion, that looks a lot better than what it looks like in static images. Although, very well, you may spend the entire game looking at static images. It's tagged as a real-time strategy / tower defense game. And yeah, still not having every single screenshot load, but that's fine. I don't think we have a high chance of ever actually fixing that. Let's go play this. And play that. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article. Ubisoft is making a mobile push of its own with the Division mobile. Which, okay. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has the same article. Sony facing lawsuit over monopoly on digital game sales. Which I suppose technically that is a monopoly. Okay, so let's play this. And then I'm going to come over here and shrink that down a little bit. So, play that. And do we need that? Attack that, I suppose. I didn't need to attack, did I? That was pointless. Alright, so here we go. We've got a Nintendo video. If any video is going to get Content ID claimed, it's going to be a Nintendo video. This is Nintendo wants to teach programming to the world with Game Builder Garage. And so, I talked about this earlier, that this was a graphical drag and drop type interface. Seems somewhat kind of like one of the interfaces as far as Unreal and Unity works. It is not exactly like Scratch, certainly, and there's definitely going to need to be a big level of tutorializing and education, certainly, around this. And there's an inconsistency I immediately see in the logic. It seems like you are kind of just dragging and dropping elements that are both actual physical elements that would show up on the grid, and clearly some of this is from Mario Maker, versus just some elements that are actually just interface elements like buttons and control sticks. Now it's important here for me to not take any real long break, because I'm going to be commentating over this entire video just to make sure it's fair use, but it literally is an advertisement trailer anyway, so it's not copyrightable in the first place. Now, even if Content ID did not catch that, because of my little trickery there, it also could have been not caught because there was a Nintendo logo in the lower right hand corner. That really shouldn't affect anything, but yeah, there are other reasons certainly why that may not have been caught, so that doesn't 100% guarantee that what I did was the right thing. It could just be that I got lucky. And now, logically, the next step would be to find a Capcom game that is also as likely game trailer to get unlawfully claimed through Content ID and play that. So then at least you might have a copyright deadlock situation.
Relinquish your vessel to find death.
Okay. But we may not have that. Apparently, Resident Evil came out today, but people were given early access. I'm still really surprised that Layman Gaming gets early access when it really is just like one or two Australian people reviewing the games.
Carouse in the cacophony.
But maybe that's all it takes, really. Gametsu has an article, Remnant from the Ashes, PS5 and Xbox Series optimization update launches May 13th. If I recall correctly, this is a well-liked game that I did want to play.
Impressed? You ain't seen nothing yet.
5.
Someone as beautiful as her could never understand.
9 damage instead. Play that. Yeah, Remnant from the Ashes is a RPG, I believe, game. It's from Perfect World Entertainment, which I believe is a Chinese company. Very positive. Single player. See, complete edition $49.77. English full audio and several other languages. Yeah, unless I'm thinking of a different game. Yep, this is. It's being published by Perfect World. It's made by Gunfire Games.
Darling, you
Yep.
complete me.
There's no other way. There's no retreat.
You know what? It probably would be really nice to potentially jump into a game like this right after either playing a Fallout or a Borderlands game. That way I could say, alright, I'm done with the Borderlands series. I've covered all the Borderlands games, which for me would still be 2 games. See, reduce damage by effects by 2. I have no idea why that is there.
Scatter you to the four winds.
I shouldn't have done that.
Burn to ash.
Let's see. Moving on. Gametsu has Rise of Slime launching May 20th for the Switch and PC, which looks like kind of a cardboardy type game. Is it a deck building card game where you play as a slime? Wasn't really expecting that to be how this was going to play out. There's an anime where a slime character becomes super powerful. It's called That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, and clearly it inspired this game. Although I just don't know if there's really a game here or if it's just trying to look like a game.
Relinquish your vessel to find death.
Let's see.
Your defeat was foretold. I loved her. She was everything to me.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't do anything because I'll just banish more cards and run out of cards. Yeah, there's no point in talking about the Lost Judgment reveal being leaked when it was leaked, I believe, on the Japanese PlayStation Store, and it just doesn't kind of matter since the actual information came out. Gematsu has Skullgirl's second Encore DLC character Umbrella being announced, which okay. A game called sci-fi roguelike game called Crying Suns is coming to the Switch on May 27th. Apparently it already is on Steam. I don't recognize this game though. Let's see. You don't have time to let every single Nintendo advertisement play all the way through. Alright, let's do this. And then do this. And then do this.
You're careful. Those bones are mine. You're such a pain.
And this.
There's always tomorrow.
Yeah, here's Crying Suns. It's on the fall list. And it's very positive. So I think I have to decide to put this on the wish list or take it off the falling list. One, because I was going to do a fall list cleanup and I opened up all the way up to C, all the C level letter games. And two, it's very positive and it meets all the requirements. This does kind of feel like a game that may not really be the kind of game I'd play. So maybe I would never actually bother to buy it, but whatever. Let's just put it on the wish list until there's a wish list cleanup, and then I decide to get rid of a bunch of games. Let's see. Gematsu has Shuin no Verche Error Salvation opening movie, which this seems like some kind of visual novel. Dark and red. Some kind of maybe vampire romance visual novel. It's a Otomate game. No, Otome game. Young maiden game, so.
This curse is my strength.
I don't know what the difference between Otomate and Otome is. I've heard of Otome, I haven't heard of Otomate. Do this and this and this. Let's see. Gematsu has an article here. Layton's Mystery Journal Control and the Millionaire's Conspiracy Deluxe Edition Plus has been announced for Switch, featuring voice actors from the anime. So this is apparently a re-release of one of the new Professor Layton games. Lady Layton, as it were. They replaced her a couple of games ago. Which I think the Layton series of games is a kids puzzle games anyways, and so and I think it goes through several generations of Laytons, which okay, they haven't been really translated much to the West, or at least not as much as I would have liked to see them translated. Gamma Sutra has a job listing here for Yacht Club Games as a gameplay programmer in Los Angeles, California. Still looking for C and C++ language proficiency, passion. Any job listing that wants passion means they're going to abuse you. and that is very much true in video game. Math skills still needed. Game design, understanding, problem solving abilities is asked for every job. I mean, literally, your job could be just a factory line job where you screw in one screw and they still want excellent problem solving abilities. Proactive, curious, confident in learning on the fly. They don't want to train you. That's also an indicator. There's quite a few red flags here of this not being particularly a good job. Although I guess that is also probably just a new way of job listings in general, is that they're all going to suck. And then again, regardless of any job, good oral and written communication skills, which at a certain point this is kind of like discriminatory, that almost every single job asks for oral and written communication skills. People that don't have those skills just generally are then at a disadvantage always. Also, people who have trouble speaking or communicating or writing, like there's a lot of disabilities that affect your oral and writing communication skills. And then they want you to have multiple shipped console games, experience with multi-threading, low-level debugging and optimization, multi-platform code, GPU programming, network programming, UI programming. That's like 3 different specialties. Build systems, and playing their games. And those are just all the extras that they're asking for on top of the defaults.
Rains from above.
A galaxy of gems tumbles and twirls.
Got to roam in style.
Now this is a work of art.
Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here. Aldeos Beyond Kronos half anniversary and new project presentation live stream is set for May the 14th. This must be some kind of game. I don't recognize this game though. It's been talked about before. Let's see. Gamatsu, the Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yabai, is adding Hinokami Kaputan. No, wait. That's the whole title. This is the whole title, and it's adding Shinobu Kocho, which I did not think there were so many Demon Slayers in Demon Slayer. I literally thought it was just one guy.
Why, you've got the face of a chameleon.
Though I guess it's nice to be proven wrong. Frankly, to find out that an anime you haven't watched potentially has more characters and potentially more appeal because it has more characters. Here we have a game on Steam called Dawn of the Falconer. We already talked about this game. This was the student project. It's already on the following list. Let's see. Here we have a game called Unbeatable White Label, which is tagged as some kind of rhythm game. Okay. Although I'm not the best at rhythm games, there is something
Graced by the earth.
appealing to the art style, it looks like. Although I am not sure if this really is a game or if this isn't just some kind of interactive music video. No, there is a game here. English full audio. I'm gonna put it on the follow list even though it's free. And then there's like $5.99 for Unbeatable demo tapes, which is a soundtrack. So It may very well be that they are just trying to
Ice is snow chuck.
it could very well be that they're just trying to
Season sleetings. I feel
waste your
froggy.
get you to pay for the soundtrack, and it is mostly just a music demo. Next, we have a game on Steam called Leaf on the Wind. Hurry, hurry, hurry here. This is an asset flip game, obviously of a leaf floating by. $3.59, English and Portuguese, Brazil. Here is Rise of the Slime Prologue, which I don't see a reason to put Rise of the Slime Prologue on the follow list if I've already put the full game on the follow list. Next we have a game called Dudes on a Map Virtual Grid Paper, which doesn't seem like it's actually a game and more seems like it is just a assistant app for running a Dungeons and Dragons style campaign. So many screenshots are not loading. Early access, free to play, but then $17.99 for to be the game master. English only. It's not a terrible thought, but it really does seem like it is just a website or just very poorly programmed app, and I don't know if something like that really should be in Steam or if it should be in its own storefront.
Wrongdoing? Me? Perish the thought.
Okay. Can we get an Earth right?
The earth rains from above.
Oh, I could have done that. I could have done this, then I could have played that.
Drowned in light.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Toverblade, and this is from Sock Pop Collective, which actually, as far as the Sock Pop Collective games, it doesn't look that bad. $5.99, English only. See, what I wanted to do specifically is see if I could ignore this creator. Which I guess I will just ignore this creator in general, because they do just make these low effort, very short games and flood the Steam marketplace with it, but ignoring a creator really won't stop me from seeing their games. They've been doing this since 2016, so 5 years now, with many games coming out a month apart. At a certain point, that's kind of what I do with my YouTube channel, so I can't really blame somebody for the shotgun approach as far as game development. It's just, it's not working for me.
Watch closely, apprentices.
This match is mine.
Mix and wait for the boom.
Okay.
Put your arm into it.
Earth and assault. Never fear. Your hypersonic gal is here.
Does this one just always resummon? Yep. That one's just always gonna resummon. Next, we have a game on Steam called Gnomes Build and Survive, which just looks like a low polygon asset flip game. English and Russian, $2.99. Next, we have Mayhem in Single Valley Prologue, which looks like it might be something. there's an attempt at some kind of visuals and experience here.
Consumed by the dragon's roar.
So let's just
Keeping this in
instead put this on the fall list instead of the prologue. And
There goes the workshop.
How did I lose?
yeah. Let's just move forward. I may not have any more news at this point, so I'm just burning through the most recent games or the least recent games. And we shall see. We're also not getting any victories. Once again, here we have a game called Demio, which looks to me like it's a Dungeons and Dragons game with some visual polish, maybe also some cards element to it, but it requires people to be playing in VR, which that's not a terrible thought actually, because in the middle of a pandemic, having a local D&D night probably doesn't make that much sense, but being able to feel like you're somewhat all together would be interesting. This is $29.99. Does it have a single player option? Yes. So I'm going to put it on the fall list as a VR game. It meets that element, I would say. Next we have a game on Steam called Sork's Siege Chronicles, which looks to me like it's just a tower defense game. $17.49 English, French, Spain, Spanish, and Spanish Latin America. That is way too expensive for a tower defense game. Here we have a game called the Sikimaya Spun Glass, which looks like it might be a visual novel of interest, or it might be Western visual novel with just too much text, or a Chinese visual novel with too much text. Still looking for any reduction of pauses there when I click and jump from point to point. $29.99 English only. The price tag there is high enough to make me think that there might be a chance that that's a good visual novel. So I'm going to put it on the follow list and we'll see. Here we have a game on Steam called Underworld Idol, which looks like an idle game where you're potentially running demons around. It's an interesting art style. You've got some clearly succubus type characters with some cleavage being implied, but then looking over here it seems like you've got some other kinds of monsters. The problem here is this would just be an idle game, so I'm not sure I could really bother to play it. It's free to play English and Russian with in-app purchases, so this would be about the second or third potential idle game that looked interesting, but the actual concept of playing an idle game just falls apart and destroys any chance of actually ever being able to spend any time on it. Here we have a game on Steam called Galactic Crew 2, which the graphics don't look particularly great, which is a shame because I kind of like the idea of the concept, but not enough to put up with those graphics. $12.59 English full audio plus several other languages. Don't think I need to put this on the follow list. Let's see.
A glimpse into the future is only the beginning.
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Dracula Frames, which is tagged as a surreal point-and-click adventure. To me, it looks like it is literally just a slide puzzle game that's trying to trick you into thinking that there is more game there than there is. Yeah. Looks like maybe there's only a dozen slide puzzles at most. 59 cents English only. That is going to be a no for me. Let's see. Techcraft has an article here. Tencent is in talks over the future of its U.S. gaming investments. Chinese giant Tencent is in talks with a major U.S. security panel over its investment in U.S. gaming companies, Epic Games and Riot Games. The committee is concerned about potential national security risk in the way companies share their data. There is certainly a paranoid tinfoil hat argument to be made that maybe isn't so paranoid and tinfoil hat around simply the Chinese government and other foreign people, foreign countries, foreign actors, realizing that people play video games and often loose lips sink ships through playing video games and the chat and just gaining more information about people that you would think generally is innocuous but could easily be used against people. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if 5-10 years ago the Chinese government said, let's form Tencent, or let's encourage Tencent to invest in foreign countries, foreign game companies, so that we could potentially see where the U.S. troops, where there are a lot of gamers, may be amassing, or so we could get any kind of secret that might be listed. Of course, that is fairly tinfoil hat. The more logical thing is that China encouraged Tencent to become a big company, or allowed Tencent to become a big company, just to gain economic dominance and influence. That's where we've seen actually happening, is that Riot Games and Epic Games both have been more friendly to the Chinese government ever since they were acquired by Tencent. So yeah, moving on. I doubt that committee will return any real information or say anything. TechRaptor has a review here for Returnal. Let's see what they gave it. I'm kind of unimpressed with Returnal. I think part of the problem is just the price for what it is. They gave it a 9.0. They say, while there's a few difficulty issues and some iffy story beats, Returnal is a fantastically brutal, rewarding, and deeply atmospheric sci-fi action game. Pros: exciting, rewarding roguelike progression, true next-gen technical presentation, and atmospheric, moody sci-fi story. Cons are no checkpointers, suspend point system, and its increasingly muddy plot. Which, that's not what you want to hear said about your story, certainly. Honestly, I feel like the plot would have been the thing that would have saved Returnal for me. In a lot of ways, Returnal feels like one of those games that maybe is getting a little overhyped by the mainstream video game media, and I'm just not willing to fall for it this time, as I would have been several years ago. I'd be fine with playing it, but I want to get it at $10 or less. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Profits are on the up at Nintendo as the Switch nears 85 million lifetime sales. Which, yeah, Switch is still selling well, to say the least. I think we already talked about this 2 or 3 times. Zynga to acquire the mobile monetization and ad platform. Chart boost for 250 million. I feel like my deduplication function is not working as well as it should.
Golly, it's chilly here.
Let's see.
This match is mine.
Ooh, this is real. You like the cold?
Time to tidy things up.
You like the cold?
That was totally the wrong way to play that.
I feel
Gamatsu has an article. The King of Fighters 15, Ryo Sakazaki and Robert Garcia trailer and screenshots are now available. I don't recognize either one of those characters. So yeah, I do have to say that these decks are not as fun to lose with as this deck. Gamatsu has Godfall rated for the PS4 in Europe and Taiwan now, which I guess tells you that the game is coming out for the PS4. Here we have the Art of Rally coming to the PS5 and PS4 this summer. So more announcements as far as Art of Rally. I'd be really surprised if Art of Rally turns out to be something. See, Gamatsu has Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury topping 5.59 million, on top of worldwide sales topping 84.59 million. So here's the list of the best-selling Nintendo games or Switch games, if you want to check that out. A game called Super Animal Royale is coming to the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and Stadia in 2021. Which, let's see if this looks like something as a Battle Royale game. Seems like this is a cutesy to start with, then shoot each other in the actual gameplay Fortnite clone. What's funny is that Super Animal Royale might sell better than you think, simply because of Fortnite not being allowed on iOS at the moment. Let's see. Gamatsu has E3 adding Bandai Namco, Gearbox Software, Sega, and Square Enix XC games and more. Which, honestly, I think most of these game companies would have been at E3 2020 had that happened, and would have been at E3 2019. So, I don't think there's one here that specifically feels like they are that they are adding new or bringing back to the fold. Here, Gamatsu has the Scarlet Nexus opening animation, which I feel like we've seen this. I'm getting a lot of deja vu, as it were. Yeah, I don't think we actually have seen this, or maybe we did. Bunch of people in red fighting monsters. Yeah. See, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance coming to PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on May 7th, PC and mobile in 2021. See what this looks like. Looks like a kind of poorly animated Diablo game. I think they could probably do better. Even if you are targeting mobile, I feel like there should be better graphics for even mobile. Let's see. What do we want to do? See, Observer System Redux is coming to PS4 and Xbox One on July 6th alongside a physical edition, which I don't think System Redux is a new game. I think it's just a remaster that came fairly quickly after the original game came out.
Oh, waffle cakes. I'm going on ahead.
See, Metro Exodus Complete Edition for the PS5 and Xbox Series launches June 18th. Which, I don't know if I really would want to play Metro Exodus games. Starting with Exodus, but there's really no reason why I would be picky about which Metro game to start with without doing some more research, which is what I would need to do. Here we have a game on Steam called Bedulia or Budalia. Looks like it's a card game based around the idea of feudalism. There might be an idea here. $11.99 single player. It must be a deck building game because there's no in-app purchases and there's no DLC. So this probably is all that will ever exist, and I imagine a game like that may never get reviewed, or if it does get reviewed, it may not really say anything. Let's see. Let's see. See. Next we have a game called Infinitode Infinite Tower Defense, which clearly this is just a tower defense game, which would not interest me. $4.99, bunch of languages. Let's see, there is a TechRaptor article opinion piece, how Firewatch helps me reconnect with the outdoors. If you're interested in reading that, it really is just going to be an opinion piece though. They also have a review for a game called Before I Forget, which is coping with dementia, and they gave it an 8.0. It said, Before I Forget is a strong, concise story tracing a woman suffering from dementia as she slowly uncovers pieces of herself as well as the story. Framed within her mental health journey, it doesn't waste players' time with a runtime that doesn't overstay. Its welcome, and helped by a protagonist that doesn't divulge too much information when she speaks.
Relinquish your vessel to find death.
Okay. 5.
Miasma pervades all.
Renounce yourself.
Hit that.
Renounce yourself.
Hit that.
My crumpets.
The pros are effective representation of dementia's memory obfuscation, and Sunita isn't a chatterbox. Sunita, I guess, being the main character. The cons are 2 or 3 instances of momentary stutter on the Xbox Series X. Alright. So that sounds good. I don't know if it actually is on PC though. Here we have a game called Through the Fragmentation, which, let's see, seems weird. It's coming soon. English only, I guess. You put it on the fall list. Marking a card. Do this. Do this. Do this.
She was everything to me.
Do this.
Mana, come forth. You let go of my hand. Hey.
Okay. Smack. Smack.
The miasma pervades all.
Smack. Theoretically, I could win here. See. Next, we have a game on Steam called Chroma Quaternion. Just looks like an RPG game. And it doesn't look that good. So, yeah. $13.49 English and Japanese. I gotta be careful not to just immediately dismiss everything that's an RPG, but I am pretty much almost doing that. Well, almost to the beginning of the end, which I think is gonna work out fairly nice with the timing. I didn't really have a lot of hope that this was gonna work, but seems like it is. Of course, let's just try this default deck once. Still not getting any victories. Here we have a game on Steam called Golf with Your Grandmother, which clearly is just an asset flip joke game. You're flinging the grandmother through a bunch of knives. $4.24. I suppose it is worth mentioning that there aren't any like Mother's Day type sales or any games that come out for Mother's Day, so nor are there any like Father's Day sales or anything like that, or Father's Day games. There's that game My Lovely Daughter, but that's about it. Here we have a game called Cosmophage, which just looks like it's a platforming shooting game of no real interest. $2.54 English only. Okay. So what this leaves, as it were, is about 20 potential games to talk about on Monday, all on Steam, which then allows me to start doing some follow list cleanup. So it's gonna be seat of the pants as far as the follow list cleanup. Here's a game like all the games that will be followed. This is a VR game. It came out in June 19th of 2019. Now normally 6 months, it would have been basically anything but before 2020, or even December 31st 2020, or December 2020 would be about 6 months as far as how long it's been out, and so it's been given its fair shot. More than likely a game at this point would not ever have any relevancy. Now this is a VR game too, so maybe I could have seen a reason why I put this on the follow list, thinking that maybe it would be a good VR game, but there's not a single user review. So yep, this needs to go. 123 Bruegel needs to go away. Seriously? Was the right move.
This world's whims.
See, here we have a game called 100 Vacas, which I think means cows. This came out August 17th of 2020. It has 8 reviews for 99 cents. Let's see what the reviews are. Let's see. They are 100% positive. So 99 cents for something like this Do I really want this on the wish list, or should I just give up on it because it's irrelevant? Like, theoretically, I should give up on it because it's irrelevant, and that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. A top-down twin-stick shooter that looks like a Game Boy game.
Golly, it's
Doesn't
chilly here.
really accomplish anything. Let's see. Next we have 10 milligram Slasher Interrupted, which is tagged as an RPG game. To me it looks more like a visual novel.
I feel slushy.
$1.99. 15 positive reviews.
Thanks to you, I can move forward. Good cup tears their brains.
So yeah, apparently you have this like poly four-way going on where it's this girl and these three other girls are all dating, and you're telling this campfire story, and you're getting interrupted by your girlfriend as far as other stories. What else has this developer made? This 10 milligram collection. You know, this is a weird enough game that I think it might have worked, but it's just text. And that's the real problem, is that it is just text.
Come on.
You like the cold?
Mana, come forth. I'll take my magic up and abracadabra. I guess I wasn't good enough.
So yeah, I'm gonna take it off the fallen list. I need to be more cruel.
Wait, how did I lose?
Here we have a game called 1917 Prologue, which is mixed, which is a shame because I wanted this to actually work, but clearly there's some problems, and it's not really worth it to try and investigate what the problems are. Not worth $15. It's now $9.99. It's been as low as $5.99. Yeah, this just kind of feels like a horror game. It's gotta go. I need to be more cruel. I need to be more picky as far as things that actually get to the follow list in the first place, so I'm not going back and forth. Here we have 1980X or 8X, which this is very positive. So I wonder what the problem was. Did it not have enough reviews before? Or is it just because it's several different games?
Prepare for defeat.
$9.99. Well, this follows the rules, so this should go to the wish list. Even if it is a combination of multiple games, clearly it catches people's attention. It says part 1 of an arcade epics 1980X. Let's see, next we have a game called 3-Minute Hero, which is still in early access, so we can just ignore that one. Here we have 30XX, which is still in early access, so we can ignore that one. Here's an early access game. It's very positive, so we can ignore this one unless I just want to remove it right now. Yeah. At a certain point, if there's something from 2019 or earlier that's early access, though, I need to consider removing that also. Here we have one that's not even out yet. I don't know why I would be specifically following this game. Anyways, so we can clean up by taking anything or almost anything that that happens to not come out yet. Here we have 4th and Inches, which looks like an NES game from 1988. This is a Ziggurat game, so it is from 88. Yeah, I don't think I want to play an old NES football style game, even if I'm slightly nostalgic of playing that game, NES football, a couple times. So that can leave. Let's do this. See, here we have one called 600 Seconds, The Death of a Church, which probably is an asset flip game, but might actually work. Like an anime girl running around in a Dark Souls type area. Although at a certain point, why not just play Code Vein and be done with it? $11.99. 5 user reviews. What are the user reviews? 1 negative. Not in my language. Talking about the background music from what I can tell. I'll leave that for a little bit longer. Here we have a game called 8 Doors, which is some kind of Metroidvania. Was I concerned that this would be a frustration platformer? Is my only real question. It's a different art style, certainly, than anything I've seen. So, yeah. Yeah. There might be some frustration in a game like this. But then again, if I've got a frog that's jumping me around through areas, it may not be that big of a deal.
Forgotten dreams gather unto me.
What I'm not seeing in this trailer is a whole bunch of platforming. I'm seeing a lot more hacking and slashing and shooting, which that's helpful. Yeah, this is not a Super Meat Boy style frustration platform. Okay, $19.99. This game can go to the fullest. 8 Doors, Arium's Afterlife Adventure. Yeah, and I imagine a lot of these games probably met the requirement fairly quickly after they came out to have enough reviews. And I simply am just now getting back to it. I'm starting to get a little sleepy too, though, so we need to probably start to think about when I'm gonna wrap up this stream. Let's see. Next, we have a game called 9 Monks of Shelon. Is this early access? No. Is it single player? Seems like it's mostly probably online, but seems playable in single player. Okay, well, that goes to the wish list. That looks fine. A Shaolin monk beat 'em up game as a concept doesn't work. Let's see. I could win here. I probably won't. Let's see. We have Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, which is not out yet, but that's a big enough game to keep on the fall list. And that is up in the symbols section because of the way they've written this. It's bracket Ninja Gaiden Master Collection. So the first is a symbol before the letter A after the number 9. This is Ninja Gaiden Sigma also. And then they have Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, all coming out June 9th. So there's a high chance of success there as far as the game releases.
Please, no more. Unforgivable.
Next we have Love Love Unlimited, the day after episode 00 remastered. This is a visual novel. It is mostly positive at 71%. It's not early access, so I guess technically it goes to the wish list. We will have to decide how many visual novels really it would cover. And I suppose at the moment I could leave episode 1 remastered on the fall list, because if I played episode 0 remastered and liked it, then I would want to continue the series anyways. If I played it and found it just to be a standard boring visual novel, then I could stop there. There's this whole megaverse as far as Love games, and I guess really the real thing here would be to put this game on the wish list, not the remaster of episode 0. This also, though, is tagged with nudity and sexual content, so I better not show too much of it, just in case. Honestly, though, that almost certainly is one of those visual novel games that would require very little censorship. Yeah, even looking down here is that it has actually been censored anyways. So
Relinquish your vessel to find death.
Someone as beautiful as her could never understand.
One of the things I'm seeing
Wait, how did I
is
lose?
this original Love has the girls in these outfits that basically have see-through, I guess this is YouTube family friendly, like brown, probably originally see-through boob windows in their outfits. Which I feel like they probably pulled away from that in the remasters and tried to actually just tell an interesting story, because you can see here that the TDA 02 Love Unlimited remasters don't seem to have anything. The day after, they seem not to be focused on that. Here you can just see it's a skin tight implied see-through but not anywhere as bad outfits or as extreme outfits. Hmm. I sure wish I would get more random victories, though. Here we have a game called The Crooked Heart that's not out yet. It's early access, where you play as a dog, I think.
Don't underestimate me.
Yeah, I remember this. Give that some more time. I'll give that some more time. Here we have a game called A Forgetful Loop. Time-based worker replacement game that doesn't feel like a real description of a game. Yeah, it seems like you have to drag things and you're kind of doing a hacking mini game that sort of like the Deus Ex hacking mini game. Yeah. $10.99 for what that is showing me doesn't look good. Two user reviews. Yeah, I don't think for this price I could see a justification on leaving this on the fall list. Although this does look visually like something was actually tried to be made. Like, clearly this developer tried. I just can't reward the effort alone. See. Next we have A Hand with Many Fingers, which is a conspiracy game. Very positive. $4.99. Yeah, that can go to the wish list. Of course, all these games then just get lost in the wish list, and it's comes down to whether a game is on sale or it strikes me so well that I remember it and look for it. Let's see.
Become a demon to kill a demon.
So, yeah. See, I think we'll probably just get through the A's and call it a day. Because I don't really want to go any further. I'm starting to get sleepy.
Another pointless path.
If we do one letter every week, 52 days out of the week, then that's surprisingly, there are 26 letters in the alphabet. I don't know if there is any reason why that's the case. But yeah, 52 weeks out of a year, we would go through every single letter twice, 6 months apart, which that works very, very well as a concept. It may not actually work in implementation, though, unfortunately, because we may find that there will just be days that I miss. There may be Fridays when there's just other things. See. I doubt I'm supposed to evolve that and attack there. I'd probably win a lot more if I didn't just evolve the first time I can. Here we have a game called A Wonder.
this world's whims.
which is just dark screenshot. Seems like it's a student project. It's 53% positive. It's free. Let's see. Let's see what the negative reviews are. Need an Xbox controller. Numerous glitches. Very Russian, unfinished. Controls don't work. It doesn't work. Controls don't work. A lot of reviews here not realizing it's a student project. Certainly. So yeah, a lot of people here not happy with it because of controls. Well, you know what? Just put it on the wish list anyways. It's a student project. I can check it out if I ever decide to highlight student projects. If I don't, then fine, whatever. That was the wrong thing. Here we have a game called A-Tech, which is mixed, which is some kind of VR game. Which that's more than all I need to see to remove it from the following list. I'm really slowing down. Give that one some more time. Here we have Abyss of Neptune, which is mixed. Which is a shame, because I wanted it to be better reviewed. And that's why I put it on the fall list in the first place. Yeah, what can we do here? It's a free game. It's mixed reviewed. It looks interesting and like BioShock, but honestly, why ruin your memories of BioShock by playing a game that just doesn't work? Why go worse? You know, never go worse. Always go better. Abyss of Neptune has to be ignored because of that. Let's go ahead and hit that. And then that. And then that. And then that.
Calculations set. Ready to summon.
This match is mine.
My three-sided
That wasn't fast enough.
I am a prisoner of this world's whims.
Here we have a game called Accident, which is still early access, even though, again, at a certain point too, I should probably stop calling early access things. Just because.
Each life has a different value.
This game called Acolyte is not out yet. So
Did someone call for a genius?
we can remove that from the following list.
Where should I drop this lightning bolt?
A full frontal attack.
Wait, how did I lose?
Here we have a game called Action Ball. Yeah, something like this from February 2020 has been around long enough to just ignore it. It's a shoot 'em up game, but it has no relevancy. Even if I had interest, I would want to play Action Ball 1, which is just not listed here. So yeah, take that off. An Arkanoid clone / shoot 'em up. Yep. A Arkanoid clone alone is not enough, and a shoot 'em up alone is not enough, and it's just no relevancy there. Let's see. Kind of just doing the easy things and skipping the hard things, though, because there's clearly some games here that I'm skipping over. And then I have like 2 hours. What I'm gonna have to do is, well, I'm probably gonna fall asleep and miss this more than likely, but in 2 hours I would also have to try and get a private victory or a private game, just play a private game, then get our unranked victories. I suppose I can get all of those, except for we also need ranked victories. So there's just a lot of work on Shadowverse's side too. See, here we have like a game called Adel Earth, which looks kind of interesting, but has no reviews at all. I may have to revisit the idea of whether or not something is relevant matters. I may at a certain point just have to start going back and saying, hey, some of these games look interesting even if nobody's ever played them. Let's give them a chance. This is a Warhammer game. It's mostly positive, but honestly, I don't think I need specific Warhammer games on my wish list before I decide whether or not I'm going to play Warhammer games. Here we have a game called Audios. It's just feels like it's an asset flip game, but seems to be very positive, so let's go ahead and put it on the wish list. Here we have a game called Adore, which looks like it's a RPG game. Still early access. That's part of the problem though, is like, I guess if it's early access and it's positive, keep it. But if it's early access and it's been in early access for more than 6 months, then that's questionable. Here we have a VR game of Adventure Time. Relevancy comes back into play here. But if you were going to get a VR headset for kids, I imagine Adventure Time makes a lot of sense. I'm mostly skipping over the VR games, though, because of the fact that, yeah, VR games are just going to stay on the fault list until someday I decide to actually buy a VR headset, and then I have to reevaluate them all. Let's see. Here we have a game called Ephean Fall, which looks positive enough, so we can put that on the wish list. A lot of things are making it to the wish list. A few things are leaving. Here we have like Aeon Blood, which is mostly negative, so we can remove that. Which is kind of a shame because that looks like that might have been an interesting beat 'em up game. Here we have a visual novel, Aeon of Mosaic, Anomaly. I wonder why this very first image is always broken. Well, actually that may just have a lot to do with how I open these tabs. $1.99, Chinese full audio, positive. Suppose yes. Like, we may go back and decide no on visual novels. May go back and decide to just completely remove all visual novels. See, this game Aerial Knights Never Yield. I put this on the fall list probably less than 2 days ago, and I'm immediately now taking it off because it isn't out yet. So now what's funny is the next thing I clicked on brought me to the main Steam page, which means that game on the fall list is now no longer available for purchase. So something AE, or before Airy Little Bird Adventures, was no longer available for purchase. Let's see. This is a game where you fly around as a bird. Doesn't have VR, but it is mostly positive. So I'll put it on the wish list, but I'm going to also leave this tab open so I know what to go look for. Let's see, here we have a Eterno Blade, which has 8 user reviews, 4 of which are negative. Game gets boring as you progress, it says. Yeah, I don't see enough here to keep my attention, and it is definitely irrelevant with only 8 reviews from September 7th, 2020. Here we have After Party. Now it's important to recognize why maybe in the last 30 days something might be negatively reviewed versus overall being positively reviewed. That's something to check out. Otherwise, this almost certainly should be on the wish list. This is from the developers of Oxenfree and Oxenfree 1. So Beginning parts too slow, lost interest in proceeding after an hour. The concept is really cool though. Very poor story. As much as I wanted to enjoy the game, this game as Oxenfree, this is completely fail for me. And see, that puts me in a weird position because I didn't like Oxenfree, and I didn't want to play Oxenfree, and I don't want to play Oxenfree 2. So the idea of After Party being even worse than Oxenfree is weird. But I can say something about this game, is that since it came out in October 22, nobody's talked about it, so it must be a fairly boring game. I haven't seen anybody play it or review it or anything. Here we have Age of Empires Definitive Edition, which is very positive. So that makes sense to put on the wish list. Next we have a game called Ageless, which with mixed reviews isn't good enough. Let's see. Next we have Agoraphobia and Knock Knock, which is mostly negative, so we can lose that. I don't get a lot of games on Steam that are just mostly negative. Yeah, we have a game called Aida, The Beginning Story, which seems to just be a collection of puzzles, and so I don't see a reason to keep that on the fall list. Here we have a game called Airborne. It's very positive. It's a VR game, isn't it? Yeah. Well, never mind. Let's see, is this a VR game? Yes, it is. Next we have Alba, a wildlife adventure, which, okay, looks interesting, overwhelmingly positive. Maybe a bit of a Pokemon Snap type game, walking around taking pictures of animals. Now I'm in a weird position because I'm kind of struggling to even finish one letter. Let's see, Alchemist Adventure. It's positive, so I guess yes on this. Well, it's early access though, so I guess leave it. Let's see. Alchemist Simulator is mostly positive. Okay. I'll put that on the wish list. Like, one thing I can say about simulating the job of being an alchemist is at least you're not simulating a real world job, so you don't have that boring element of repetition. Next we have a game called Alec Lost Kingdom. I don't think there's enough of a game here. It just kind of feels like a Minecraft survival clone game. It's early access. I think I can say no to that. I'm getting a little bit more picky, which is good. But I'm still leaving a decent amount of games on the fall list. Here we have a game called Alien Earth, which is a 1998 game. I don't recall playing this, and I don't think it's particularly relevant, so I'll take that off the fall list. Let's see, next we have a game called All Over, which is a RPG game. I don't even know why this would have been on the fall list in the first place. Let's go ahead and lose that. Here we have All That Remains Part 1 from 2017 with one user review. So there's no relevancy there. This is another one of those games where you're living out of a bunker, maybe solving puzzles. What was the one user review here? It's Forgotten and Broken. This is how it's described. see. Here we have a game called Along Together, which is a VR puzzle game. So I don't need to really consider that anyways. Hmm. Hmm. Let's see, what else do we have? Hilarity experience. I don't think I'm gonna make it. Yep. I think it's I'm gonna leave this on the fall list. I'm gonna leave the web pages I have open. So next Friday we'll start at the same spot, and so we only made it about halfway through the letter A as far as the fall list cleanup is concerned. So yeah, we didn't make as much progress as possible. Now I just need to go through my 4 different Twitter feeds and see what new news is potentially going to have come out. Then I'm gonna fall asleep. Hopefully I can make it to the end of the stream before I fall asleep. So yeah, over the course of the last 3 hours. But yeah, I definitely did need to stream earlier, and frankly I could have started even earlier, streamed at like 6 in the morning, and that probably would have been the smarter move instead of recording one episode of Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. It definitely did occur to me that I would I was very much in a point where I was thinking, not seriously, but wanting to just play Indiana Jones Fate of Atlantis for several hours. But yeah. I feel like I'm kind of rambling too, as I'm getting sleepier and sleepier. And I'll have to remember some of the thoughts I had about potentially putting in a text scroller at the bottom of the screen. And once again, I'm looking for any feedback, so leave any comments if you felt like the video when we did the web peak was motion sick inducing, or if you even noticed at all that the pixels were moving a little bit to the left and right and up and down in a sort of weird motion. Let's see. Alright, so that's one feed. One Twitter feed down. That's 2. One being particularly longer than the others. That's 3. That's 4. Okay. Yeah, that's 5. So, that's going to be it for this stream. As always, no drop frames. Nice. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.